This time on Holy Ghost Notes.
No way!
What are you trying to say, Mike?
We're not going to read into it too much.
Can I say this? Is this right?
We just partied all night.
I'm dropping the ball here.
And everybody was like, ah!
What's up, everybody? This is Tim and Matt, and you are listening to the Holy Ghost Notes podcast. Thank you all for joining us today. We've got a fun one. How are you doing, Matt, first off?
I'm doing very well. Yeah, we do have a fun one today. And you know what? I think that this episode is going to be unique and set apart from the other ones. Mm-hmm. Just on the basis, on the premise that it's just a conversation that just so happens to be recorded.
Yeah.
And that's really hard to do with a guest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a lot easier to do with just you and myself, but when you bring someone else into that, especially someone that I've never met before, mm-hmm. as you'll find out,
yeah,
it's tough. And man, this is just a really, really good conversation that I think you guys are going to really love.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit about Mike Sleath, because I don't think we ever actually came out and introduced him. So Mike is a session drummer, a touring drummer, and he's currently on. Well, he will be on the road again with Shawn Mendes. He's been with Shawn for a number of years now, and I was introduced to Mike just. I like a random interview came up on my feed. I don't even remember if it was like Facebook or Instagram or something, but I saw this interview and it was just so fascinating to me how he talked about his drumming, and I think I mentioned it in an earlier interview when I kind of teased that he'd be coming on, but and he didn't say this in his interview. I meant to ask him about it, but he was talking about just how you have to fake it till you make it kind of, and he in this interview he talked about how he actually had to go purchase a piece of drum hardware, like I think it was like an electro, like an Octopad or something like that. He was asked if he knew how to use it at an audition, said yes, got the part, quick went, bought an Octopad, spent all night learning it, and that was just so fascinating to me. And I was like, I have to have this guy on the show. So, and I do mention it in the interview, but reaching out to him and talking to him over the past month was such a pleasure. This guy is a serious professional, but so down to earth. So it was really it was cool getting to know him a little bit even before this interview, and it was a lot different in that we hadn't had prior conversations with him as we have with other guests. He didn't have a relationship with you. He hadn't toured with you in the past or anything like that. So, hadn't built drums with you for you for a year or two. So it was different, but I think it was cool. And I think you guys will really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, so as you'll hear, we actually just start recording our conversation as we're getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And one thing, my takeaway just before even listening to it, as a listener, be listening to the sense that he that sort of underneath everything that he's talking about, he's consistent in how he approaches people and how he deals with people and how he works with people and what he sees in people. And I think the proof of that is that he didn't know that I was in a band. He didn't know that I was, in a similar line of work. And right from the start, he's just very nice, respectful, and looks to hear what everyone else has to say.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no reason for him to do that with someone where there's not a motive to impress or to live up to someone else's idea of what he should be. And so my takeaway, once again, we talk about there's a lot on this podcast, is no matter who you meet, no matter who you interact with, no matter what their position, status, whatever it is in life, treat them with consistent love and respect and listen to what they have to say. Doesn't matter who it is. And I really appreciate that about him. Like I said, I think it's a consistent thread the whole way from the start to the to the end of this interview or conversation, actually.
Yeah.
And underneath of that is just this sense that he feels like the luckiest guy on the planet to be doing what he's doing, and he really enjoys it.
Yep.
And I think so much of what he does in life comes from that place.
Yeah.
No matter what situation he's in, he's still going to look at it and say, okay, this sucks, but I'm still the luckiest guy in the world.
Yeah.
So we have this expression on tour when we have a bad day on tour, terrible load in, sound system sucks, poor attendance, bad drive, whatever it is. We say our worst day on tour is still better than most people's best. Right.
Yeah.
And what we mean by that isn't that, that everyone else has it worse than us or that we have it better than everyone else. It's just that we are the luckiest people in the world to be playing music and touring the world.
Sure.
And I think, that's a really important perspective. And I think that's my main takeaway from this conversation.
That's awesome. Yeah. One thing I want to say quick is that, some of you might be like, oh, drummer for Shawn Mendes. I hope they ask like how he got to where he is or like what he had to do to get this gig. And we did talk about it a little bit, but the thing that I really took away from this the most was that he got this gig by knowing people and just by grinding. Like he is a great drummer. Go watch any of his videos. He is up there with the best. And that definitely got him the gig. He still had to audition, of course, but he built relationships and maintained relationships. That was like that snowball effect that he talks about is not necessarily him just getting better as a drummer and people seeing him and noticing how good he is to give, it was him building relationships and treating people with respect. And that, I think, ultimately is what got him to where he is now. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoy this as much as we did. Here we go.
Mike Sleath.
Neighbor is an Amish farm,
Okay.
and then 3 miles from where I live is Rock Lidditz, which is like one of the entertainment's biggest. Yeah,
right past Pleasure, Pennsylvania, and Intercourse, right?
Intercourse.
Yeah.
Bird in hand, Intercourse, Paradise.
We've done a lot of the Rock Lidditz rehearsals and stuff. So driving from, I guess we'd always drive from, like, is it Newark or where do you fly from?
Yeah, Newark.
Yeah, from Newark.
Or Philly.
The best part is opening up Google Maps and being like, wow, look at the name of that. How did they get away with naming it that? It's like Intercourse, Pleasure.
Bird in
names.
hand,
Burn in
Paradise.
hand.
Paradise. Is it Paradise, not Pleasure?
It's Paradise, but there might
Paradise.
be a Pleasure. I'm not going to discount that. There's also Blue Ball.
Blue Ball. Wow.
Really?
Yeah, you didn't know that, Tim?
I don't know how I didn't know that. That's wild. Wow.
Yeah, you have to drive. Well, anyway, we won't even go down that road. But we have a lot of history here with the Amish, culture, and it humors people that travel here, and other people. We talk about it like it's like you're talking about New York City. Like, that's the name. And then someone's like, "Wait, really? That's the name?" And then you say to yourself, I guess that is a little bit funny, but why are you still laughing?
Yeah.
Like, it's the name of the town.
Right.
You guys do, what's it called? Shoe fly pie?
Yes.
Yep. And
Shoe
whoopie
fly
pies.
pie, right? Oh, I've never had one of those. What's that?
We got to get Mike a whoopie pie.
Yeah.
Next time you're at Rock Lidditz rehearsing, I'll drive 3 miles down the road and probably buy one on the way.
Yeah.
Let's
to
get around to
Rock
whoopie
Lidditz.
pies. I'm very into that. That sounds great.
Shoe fly pie is like my favorite. My grandma makes the best shoe fly pie.
Really?
Yep.
That was the first place I had ever seen it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't say
I
I've
don't
seen
think
it
it's a thing
elsewhere.
in Canada.
So, yeah.
How many places have you traveled in the world, Mike?
I don't know.
How many countries do you know roundabout?
It's difficult to say. I've been to every continent, but Africa and Antarctica.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I've done how many continents?
So I've
6,
been.
right?
So you haven't been to Antarctica, but you also haven't been to, so you've never been so you've been to all parts of Europe or just mainly
The majority
UK,
of it.
mainland?
No,
Okay.
no, we do pretty extensive tours out there. Yeah, like Shawn has like a really big reach at like all through Europe. So we do a lot in I don't know what the next tours are going to look at, but in past we normally do like a bunch of dates in Italy, a bunch of dates in Germany, and then some of these we do like more just the main cities like Poland we do Krakow.
Oh yeah.
Where else? Like yeah, we do I don't know, we do a lot of them. Like
Yeah. Do you do a lot in South America?
a fair bit.
Okay.
It's the last time on the last tour was the last time that we actually went to South America, minus Brazil and Mexico. We had done stuff there before. The last time we did Argentina, Peru, Mexico, but that's not really South America. And where else? I'm really bad at geography.
What about Australia? Have you been there?
Yeah.
So you've really been everywhere except for Africa and Antarctica. So
Yeah.
I've been everywhere except for Antarctica. So we
Okay.
went to South Africa for the first time a couple years ago.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm dying to go to South Africa.
It was incredible. Cape Town and Joburg. I taught a drum clinic there. You got to get there. It's
Really?
it's beautiful.
I hear the
it's
surfing's
so
amazing,
far
right?
away.
Yeah.
I don't know about the surfing, but I know people talk about it. It's just a beautiful place to visit. And then
Really?
of course, the travel is pretty wild. Like it's
Yeah.
about as far away as you can go.
Yeah. Crazy. That's
Yeah.
amazing. I would
Yeah.
absolutely love to go.
Yeah. So I don't really know too much about your background.
Yeah.
And funny enough, we're meeting on here for the first time. But I would imagine some of our listeners don't know your backstory with, the band and playing and everything. Can you bring everyone up to speed as far as like, how did you pick up a pair of sticks for the first time? How did you get the job opportunity that you have now? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So I started playing when I was about 10 years old. I got my very first, well, my uncle was a drummer, so I'd been sort of introduced to that at a very early age. So
Sweet.
yeah, like my uncle toured a lot in like the late 70s, 80s kind of thing. So he always had a designated drum room, even though he didn't really practice too much anymore by the time I came along. But whenever I would just go over to his house, I'd like just open up this drum room, and he had this huge, like I'm talking double bass drums, toms everywhere, a gong, and it was this like Ludwig kit from 1974.
Wow.
Nice.
And it was like black. He had cowbells. He had all this stuff. So I used to just sit, I was like 5, 6 years old. I remember just sitting behind this kit, like I couldn't reach the pedals, just like, like I had no idea how to play the drums or anything, but there was just like something about it. Like they had this like essence.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I don't know. I still can't describe it, but I remember just being so enamored with these drums.
Yeah.
And then, so I kept on begging my parents, get me a drum set. And then my brother got me drumsticks one year for Christmas. So then I just became a drummer. Like I felt like I was a drummer, and I was, I didn't have drums, no idea how to play the drums, but I had drumsticks, and I had two best friends. One wanted to be a guitar player, and then the other one didn't know what he wanted to do, so he was going to be the bass player. So then I remember like signing them to a contract, being like, "We're a band, like let's go." None of us had
Did you really?
instruments. Yeah.
Wow.
I tried looking. I don't think I have the contracts, but the band was called Cinder.
Cinder.
Very cool.
I have no idea what that's supposed to mean or what it. But we were maybe 8 or 9, it sounded really cool. Like really, really cool.
I mean, I don't hate that name now. Like I don't think it's a good name for like a metal band, but it's a good name for a rock band.
For sure.
It's pretty similar to Seether.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe that's why I think that.
Yeah.
Or Hinder.
I mean, you could have come up with worse, like August Burns Red, which is the worst name on the planet. And in the end, what's funny about band names is that they don't matter.
That's true.
You know, for example, Radiohead is not a good band name, but Radiohead's amazing, and therefore it's a cool name.
Yeah.
So the music is a projection onto the name versus the name being a projection onto what the music is.
Coldplay.
Yeah.
Coldplay.
Like Coldplay.
Coldplay.
If I was given a demo tape from a band called Coldplay, it would go immediately in the trash.
Yeah, what did we used to say on tour? Boy, it's been a while since I've been on tour. I have to remember this.
Yeah.
If we got demos sometimes, and if you're listening to this and you were one of those local bands, this did not happen all the time, but occasionally, admittedly, we did do this. We would sign them to Roadside Records, I think is what we would call it. Roll down the window and
Toss it away.
I'm not saying this happened often. It definitely has happened in our career, and that always just made me laugh thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's just a smart term for something like that.
That's hilarious.
You're signed.
You're signed.
Good luck.
That's awesome.
That's funny.
But yeah. So like after that, whatever, I just started playing drums, and then I was in bands and all this kind of stuff. And I was in this one band that you guys at that time, like August Burns Red would have been considered the biggest band in the world. Like all American bands doing, anybody who had like a van and a trailer and were on the road was the biggest band in the world. It doesn't get any bigger than that.
Right.
So we eventually got a van and a trailer, and we started touring a little bit, and touring in the northern part of the States and all this stuff. And we thought we had made it. Like we're playing in, you probably know. Do you know Extreme Reels in Buffalo?
No.
This is around 2007, 2006, 2007. Anyway, we used to play these skate parks and stuff like that, and we were the biggest band. There's no bigger band than us.
Yep.
But anyway, then the band broke up, and like a year later, and then so it was like, well, I'm not going to pack this in, and I was auditioning for all these schools, or for this one school, and I was denied every single time. So I'm like, and this is 3 years in a row. So I was like, all right, I don't need the school thing. Let's just figure out another way. So then I just started working with all kinds of different artists and like creating all these different opportunities. And then things like just snowballed. And I was working with bigger artists and bigger artists and bigger artists. And then I was, I'd befriended Justin Bieber's musical director. And through that, a couple of years later, he got asked to put the Shawn Band together. And I was fortunate enough to be like one of the first calls to go audition for that. So
That's so cool.
Okay. So when
how
you
it happened.
started playing, it sounds like your interests were just really rooted in the fact that you saw a family member playing drums, and it sounded like he was kind of the catalyst to you playing. Like, take him out of the equation. Do you think you still would have found your way to a drum set?
I don't know.
I mean, it's hard to say, but
I don't come from a musical family at all. Like
same with me.
Like how would I would have never known,
right?
Yeah.
Like
there would be no.
Yeah. So when you started playing with your band, what were your aspirations at that point? Was it to do music full time and really chase this thing, or were you thinking this is fun for now? We're playing these skate parks and American Legions, and we're doing these night drives. This is fun, but I don't really want to do this forever.
No, I wanted to be Travis Barker. I wanted to be the biggest drummer that's ever been. I was always like, the band's doing pretty well. I'm probably not going to be able to finish school. I'm probably going to be on the road so much that like I'm not going to be able to finish high school. Like, I'm going to be as famous as Travis Barker.
Sure.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Well, that didn't happen, guys. I'm still waiting for the day.
Have you met Travis?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. And were you let down, or were you impressed?
I love like my interaction with. We were playing the American Music Awards. This is you know what's funny? As a Canadian, I've now played the American Music Awards, I think 8 times.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that crazy? With multiple different artists. Like,
That's funny.
but I always think it's funny every single time I go and play the American Music Awards. I'm like the farthest thing from. I'm not the farthest thing from being American, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
I am not
right.
American. I've played the American Music Awards more than I've played any award show we have here. Pretty much.
Yeah, you have more
In
claim
Canada,
to
is
American
that
music than.
We
than
don't
either
have a
of us
lot,
do.
but like you know. But
Wow, that's
But yeah, we were-
wild.
Funny.
we were playing this one year, and Sean's security guard used to be Travis's personal security guard, and so he toured with Blink-182. This guy, like, some of these security guards are bigger than any rock star I've ever met. Like Sean's security guard was Rage Against Machine's first security guard. Did all those crazy political shows that they were doing in Mexico City and all this stuff.
Wow,
like the story.
man.
Oh, he was Marilyn Manson's security guard for years.
Jeez.
So the stories these guys have, oh my god. Anyway,
Oh
so he
my
was
gosh.
he was Travis's personal security guard, and Travis was playing with the Chainsmokers. This is like 3 or 4 years ago. I don't remember when. But anyway, Travis. That was when Chainsmokers had that really big song called
Yeah.
Closer.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever year that was.
Yeah.
A couple years ago.
And they mentioned like Blink-182, so then the whole idea is near the end of the performance, like Travis emerges from the stage and there's like all this stuff. So anyway, like Sean's security guard knew how much of a Travis Blink-182 fan I was, and he was like, look, just hang outside Sean's trailer, and when the time is right, I'll take you in to meet Travis. And I was like, oh my God. So I was just like, I was like standing out there. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to say to him and all this stuff. And then he came over and he's like, so, you know, those award shows where it's like the band and the dancers and all this stuff are like in a pipe and drape kind of big, you know, we were in they always do it at the Microsoft Theater in LA.
Mm-hmm.
So like we were in like a pipe and drape kind of situation, and all the artists get like trailers outside.
Right.
So,
Well,
Travis-
first of all, hold on a second. So
Yeah.
just pause this.
Yeah.
So as I'm listening to you tell this story, I'm thinking about what it would be like to just meet someone, like you run into them, and it's just like, oh, hey, nice to meet you. I've always wanted to meet you. I look up to you. Versus,
The added suspense.
hey, you're going to stand here for a little while outside of this guy's trailer,
yeah, exactly. Like
and you're going to wait.
the anticipation is like the craziest thing ever, because it's not it's not an organic thing. Like you know, it's like this thing where it's like, okay, we're gonna physically take you and put you in front of this guy with the only reason is so you can meet him.
Right. And you're probably thinking, maybe a part of you's thinking like, oh, man, like I'm going to be lumped into his idea of what this is like usually for him. Because everybody wants to meet Travis Barker. But like, you're not just somebody. I mean, you're a drummer who's very successful and is playing in the same world as
arena,
him. And so it's probably like, what was it like for you going into that thinking like, do I need to differentiate myself from just an everyday fan? I mean, you are an everyday fan, yes, but also you're not going to just like be oblivious to the fact that fame is something that has a little bit of
You
a
didn't
burden
just
to
have
it
backstage
sometimes.
passes to a Blink-182 concert. You were like,
That's
that's
right.
legit.
Yeah, we were like working the same for
Yeah.
different artists or
Yeah.
something. So I was a little jaded going into this because the weekend before I was introduced to Trey Cool from Green Day, and we were staying there watching the Kings of Leon soundtrack. We were in somewhere in Amsterdam. Like the European Music Awards were just, it was like maybe an hour outside Amsterdam. Oh, it was called Rotterdam in the
Netherlands.
In the Netherlands. Okay, I didn't want to say it and be wrong.
Yeah, and in Holland, I believe.
Yeah, in Holland, the Dutch.
Yes. The Dutch.
So
I didn't want to say it and be wrong. I feel like that pretty often too. It's like, can I say this? Is this right?
So the weekend before, or maybe not the weekend before, but like in the very nearby future, I had been introduced to Trey Cool, and I was staying there. I was like, well, fuck, how often do you get to stand next to Trey Cool? And we were watching the Kings of Leon soundtrack, and I was introduced to him, and then we were just kind of standing there and not really talking, just watching Kings of Leon beside each other. So then I was like, hey, do you mind if we take a photo together? And he looks over and he's like, not now. And then so I was standing there and I shrunk to that big. So like that.
Oh man, the
So,
not
like,
now.
Yeah, he was just like, not now. And then I was like super embarrassed, and I'm like, I can never see this guy again. I'm just gonna go disappear and like die in a hole somewhere. And then we had just got off stage. Green Day were playing just after us. This was at the European Music Awards, and so we were. Shawn was about to win an award. We had just walked off stage, and he was going to go back on to accept this award. And we were just standing watching this TV. And Trey Cool and the rest of Green Day just were walking by, and Trey was like, "Mike, great job, man! You sounded amazing." And I had told everybody in my crew this story of how I was the biggest loser in the world. And then he was just like, "Hey, just watch, man, great job." And walked on stage, and everybody was like, "Ah!" And then we just partied all night. But I never got the picture with him, and I never asked again. I was like, but anyway, so I was just like, I was coming fresh off that experience. So
oh my gosh,
so
how do
I
you
was like-
top it? That's I mean, you went from like despair to the mountain.
Yeah.
All the emotions.
Yeah. All the emotions. Like after that, I was like, wow, Trey Cool said I did a good job. I was like, I don't need a
Right.
photo. I don't need a photo with him. I'm just gonna tell everybody this story every time. So I like made up. I was like, do I ask him for a photo? Like, because I haven't seen him since, and I hadn't seen him before then. So like up until now, that has been a once in a lifetime opportunity to stand in front of my hero. But so then I was like, so I was escorted in, and then immediately Shawn's security guard was like, I gotta run. I'll be right back. So then I'm like sitting there, just me and Travis alone in his trailer, and he had like this little practice set up, and he's like, "Yeah, so you're a drummer and all this stuff." And we were talking. He's like, and then I was like, "What do you do to warm up?" And he started showing me some warm up stuff, and then like a bit more of a conversation happened, but it happened in like the blink of an eye. I don't even know what was said. And then I was like, okay, this has been the perfect interaction. I need to get out of this room. Like
Right.
I need to get out of this
Don't need it
trailer.
at
So
all,
like
yeah.
I was like, hey, thank you so much for your time. It was so nice
Yeah.
meeting you and all this stuff. And I got out of there, and now I have this amazing story of,
That's
of
right.
Travis Barker.
I
But
have a very similar experience though, where I felt the same thing. Like,
Yeah?
I need to leave now because
You don't
I'm
wanna
gonna
ruin
make
the
an
moment.
idiot out of myself if I say something dumb, and I feel like I could very easily do that.
Yeah.
You know, I met him in L.A.
Oh yeah.
Bo Boken, who
I know Bo
is
so well.
do you worked
for Drumeo, or he did
Yeah.
work for Drumeo. He came out and shot.
Okay.
I did a day in the life with Drumeo, and it was just me and Bo chilling all day in San
awesome.
Francisco.
I did the same thing.
You did the
And
same thing?
I love that guy. Yeah, he
Amazing.
came out and shot me in Vancouver.
Oh, okay, cool.
Man, I miss Bo. Like
Yeah.
talking about Bo makes me miss touring.
Yeah,
Bless the Fall. The
Bless the
vocalist of
Fall.
Bless the Fall.
I was trying to think
So-
of it.
I had a tour and we were in California for a couple days and I had a day off. He's like, dude, you got to come with me. I'm going to see Blink play. I was like, all right. He's like, you like Travis, right? I was like, yeah. So he's like, all right. So I didn't know he had any connection with those guys, but we ended up backstage downstairs in the green room, and he had his, like you said, his whole practice set up there. This is after the show.
Cool.
And his kids were there, and I introduced myself to him. We talked for a little bit, and then his kids just started running around like having a good time. And at one point, I think his son jumped on my back, and I was like playing uncle with
Travis Barker's son. Wow.
Yeah. So, that was fun. And then to your point earlier, I'm like, I'm going to go. Like, I met Travis. I feel like I'm maybe a little part of his family, a little bit. I got a little taste.
When are you moving in?
Right. It's like, I feel like I'm an uncle to these cool kids and this amazing drummer who's a hero of mine.
Yeah.
And you know what? My takeaway with Travis was he had no idea who I was. And it didn't really matter to him.
Yeah.
So had I been a very successful drummer, or had I been a nobody that is the biggest fan in the world and is going to take up all of his time, he didn't treat me one way or the other. He just was nice and respectful, and he asked questions.
What a great guy.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed by that, because in our line of work, it's easy to treat people differently based on what they have to offer or what they're going to require of you, right? As much as that sucks to say, it's like you want to treat everybody the same way, but when the rubber meets the road, sometimes it can be difficult to treat someone that you is taking as a fan, the same as someone who's really respectful and
for sure.
and isn't like that. So yeah, when I met Travis, man, that just I'll never forget the way that he treated me, and I really appreciate that about him, because you never know when you meet someone that's of that status, it could just ruin your view of them in the end. And
no, absolutely.
that he's a stand-up guy.
Yeah. Fantastic drummer too, and he's really like now he is as relevant now as he was maybe not 20 years ago. Yeah, 20 years ago. You know, I guess he's never really become
I think
unrelevant. But
no,
I just read. I think Blink-182 just had a #1 selling album again, like just recently.
Do they have a new album?
They've got a few with Matt Skiba. Not not Tom DeLonge, but
yeah. But is there a new one within like the last couple of years? Or is it that California
came out and then 9 came out, and I think 9 was the best seller. The album's incredible, man. If you haven't listened to it, you gotta listen to it. It's so good.
I didn't even know. No
I didn't
way. That's what I'm doing this afternoon.
I too am a big Blink-182 fan, so yeah, I was all over that.
Wow. I have to check that out. I haven't even heard a single.
Yeah, it's I forget what the single off that one was. The single wasn't as good as the rest of the album. The album's solid though. Yeah. Go listen
here's
to Pin the Grenade. It's freaking awesome.
Oh,
here's
really?
an interesting thought. If you were to look at the life of Joey Jordison or the life of Travis Barker, who has had a bigger influence on your drumming, Tim and Mike?
Me?
What do you think? Yeah.
Travis Barker, hands down for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah.
Same for you?
I know a couple Joey. I know a couple Slipknot songs, but honestly, it always kind of scared me. Like I couldn't really get past the masks. I was like, it frightens me. But not to a point where I was like, yeah, this is cool. Like it just flat out scared me. I like that one song when Slipknot first really emerged, like on the global scale. I really like that one song
from Iowa.
This is horrible.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm not a Slipknot fan either. So
I'm gonna guess you're talking about. Now I'm having a brain fart. Bump, 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 bump.
Yeah, that's the one.
Bump, bump, bump. Yeah, I'm having a brain fart now. Mike, you just sent your brain fart, over to me. I can smell it.
But it's a great song. Whatever song that is a great song.
Yeah. That's funny. So for me, I wasn't directly influenced by Joey Jordison as much as I was indirectly influenced. But a lot of my fills and double bass and just love for speed and aggressive drumming, for me, I would say it's 100% Joey Jordison.
Really?
As much as I respect Travis Barker and what he's done for drumming, and as much as, he's incredible, obviously. I wasn't as much rudimentary driven. I was more so driven by this idea of like, wow, you can take aggressive and musical drumming that sounds pissed off and angry and loud, and you can take it into the mainstream. Like, it can actually be popular.
Yeah.
And he was really the first one to do it. I mean, you have Lars Ulrich, who's playing aggressive music, but the drumming itself is not all that aggressive. Then you have Joey Jordison come along, and he's like, I'm going to take this emotion or this feeling or this sound, and it's going to be popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's really done it better than that. Like, because they're pretty aggressive, right? I don't listen to a lot of metal either. Again, it scares me. Some of it scares me.
We got to get you some August Burns Red, man.
I know.
We are so much the other way, it's going to scare you. Like, how is there so much hope?
Their guitarists wear like Hollister and flip-flops on stage.
Oh, that's not scary. I love that. Yeah. It's the masks and the...
Yeah, that's true, Tim. Tim, that's a good point. I was thinking more so lyrical messaging.
It's
a lot about hope and love and encouragement.
I meant just intimidating and scary. You walk past a person with brass knuckles, I'd be a little bit less.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I've just like I've had double kick forever, but I've never I've never felt good enough to like. I've maybe used double kick on 1 or 2 shows. I'm a real one kick kind of. I'm a one kick pony.
Yeah.
But like, just over the last couple months, I just busted out this double kick, and I'm not able to do like the, or whatever. Like, because again, I scare myself when I play it. But I do it more in this like sort of jazz kind of like funk kind of way.
Right.
But I've been loving double kick recently. I said that really funny.
Yeah.
I've been loving it recently. There was this really cool. I just saw this thing, and it took me a minute to get, because again, I'm not very good with double kick. But like, you play in 3 with your feet. So like my foot. This was actually simpler for me to get. It was more of a coordination thing. So your feet are going bump 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 bump.
Yep.
And then you play in 7 with your hands, like.
Oh yeah.
But I just heard that, and I heard this other drummer playing it, and I was like, you know what? That's not that difficult. So my next practice goal is like trying to figure out, like, well, I can do that. Maybe I can do 5s with my hand, or like.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about throwing some metal drumming into the mix? For sure.
Sean's coming out with a metal album next.
Yeah.
Man, that would be
in prog.
What a mistake that would be for Shawn. Oh my gosh.
We do a lot, like in sound checks. I like to really like mess him up sometimes, and so he'll just be out there like kind of, and it's like, okay, well, let's just like do a song for levels or something like that, and like he's got this song called "In My Blood" or something like, and I'll just turn it into like a reggae version. It's like, "Isn't in my blood."
Yeah.
And he loves it.
That's great.
I'm sure, because sound checks and line checks can get. I mean, if you don't really know what you're going to be working on as a band, it's like, oh man, it's a drag.
Yeah.
Or you get to that point where, okay, you can play the songs, like, like it's not like it's not like you're trying to like fix anything, or hey, you've like we did in 2019 we did the same show 120 times, like throughout the world. It was just like, we did 120 shows. It was supposed to be 121, but it ended up being 120. But like by 50, 60, it's like, okay, we're not changing anything. Let's just do a crazy jam in a stadium. Yeah. Like, who doesn't have that, just do some weird prog rock, like.
Yeah. Right. Dude, the thing is about sound check and line check for me as a drummer in a metal band is, if there's something that is going wrong, which happens, like I'll get in my own head about something halfway through a tour. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to fix this. Sound check would be the right time to do it, but then you get up there, your crew's there, there's like local staff there, and everyone's watching just you as you try to fix this part that you suck at. And it's like, I hate this. I wish I had a Travis Barker setup in a back room where I could close the door, and I could just play. I could sort it out. And I remember being on tour in Europe, and I messed up a part, got off the click. It was a complete disaster. And 3 days later, we were playing this big festival for like 20,000 people. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to fix this. So we played in, I forget where it was in Europe, but I was like, guys, we're going to have a long sound check today. I put on my shorts because I knew I was going to get really sweaty. And I just worked this part out for like 45 minutes, made a complete fool of myself until I got it, and then I was good. Like, nailed the festival and everything. So that might be kind of strange to hear as a listener. Like, why would it be a drag to play, to do a sound check? Well, to Mike's point, you're playing these songs all the time, and there's something about someone that's creative and artistic playing the same thing over and over again just for the sake of playing it. Like, there's not a lot of redemptive value there. But in this case, trying to fix something, it's really not fun, because you're having to show people that are in the room and your crew, your family, everybody, that like, hey, I can't play this, and I'm gonna have to play it in front of you until I can. And that's for me personally, like my personality, that is hard to do. Yeah, I don't like that. Yeah, that is. Ugh.
You like the curtain closed.
I always have a little I bring around everywhere, like in hotel rooms and all this stuff. I have this little like Pelican case full, and I just have like I have like a KT10 or whatever. You know, those like it's like a roll-in pad. I just have a really basic electronic setup, like literally kick, snare, hats, and I just practice there. Every morning, I just pull these pads out and just like warm up on the pad.
That's smart.
But then I play DW drums, and PDP, who's like, I guess the squire of, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it. You know, it's like
right,
whatever.
Right, the subsidiary.
The subsidiary.
Yeah.
Wow, wonderful word. What a wonderful word, drummer.
I like squire too.
I got this, like, there's this drummer called Daru Jones or whatever, and he has this really little drum set that's like really small drums, and it fits in like these little bags, and like, so my challenge every day on the road is I run in and like I have to convince one of our security guards to give me some sort of closet or something like that.
Yep.
Because they don't care enough to give me a designated room. No, I don't want to say they don't care enough, but it's like
it's
also
not a priority.
Yeah, and so I can sometimes set it up in our dressing room, but that means that I won't be able to play it for the rest of the day because, you know, we'll have like random people coming in and playing it, or nobody just wants to be relaxing on a couch listening to me just like playing stupid Latin grooves or like something. So I always try to find this closet on the other end of the arena, and so I just set up in this room, and I always go into the venue hours early just to play. And I have those like I don't know how many handy, but like, you know, those really quiet Sabian. I play like Sabian cymbals, and they have those like I forget what
like
they're
low
called.
volume.
The low volume ones.
Yeah.
I guess all those brands have them, but
yeah.
And I just have those little cymbals, and I just go and just shed on this little, and it sounds pretty good. It's like it's like a 10-inch and it's a 10-inch and a 14-inch and just this and a 13-inch snare drum. But it weighs like nothing. It's like the lightest drum set, and it can pretty much just like fold into each other, and it sounds pretty decent. That's
cool. Yeah, that's like news. I mean, that's news to my ears that's not news to my ears. It makes me really happy, and it resonates with me to think about the option to practice before a show. Yeah. Always has. Like starting off, like to your point earlier about the van and trailer, I'd set up my little black Gibraltar kick pad and my snare stand with my practice pad, and I'd set up my little station in the trailer. And I'd play for like 2 hours before a show. I was completely soaked in sweat and couldn't be happier. Yeah. Go on stage and play, and you know, those are that's just really how you cut your teeth. That's how you get good. Because there's no other option on tour to get better at drumming. You're playing the show, but I would argue that doesn't really improve your drumming. You just get really good at playing the show. Yeah. The show. Sure. Exactly. Like I always find when I come back from a long tour, I have to like sit down and relearn all this stuff. Mm-hmm. Same. Cuz it's like, okay, like I can play the show with my eyes closed. Yep. Which is good. Yep. But it would also be nice to like, you know, keep all the other chops up. I guess too, like the kind of music you're playing is so labor intensive, and it's such high energy. Like even just the double kicks, like yeah. Right now I'm on a practice routine. I started 3 weeks ago. 30 minutes of hands on a pad, like a reflex pad. Cool. And 30 minutes on feet on my electronic kit behind me, which I'll be taking on tour. Okay. And then the whole ABR set, my whole band set to just a click. That's my daily, like, gotta do it every day. Yeah. And it kind of feels like the old days. Like I haven't practiced this much in a couple probably like 10 years because we tour so much. Yeah. With the exception of this last year. But it feels like when I was starting the band and I'd work my landscaping job, and then I'd come home, and the first thing I would do is go out and work some more by, you know, playing drums. Yeah. Yeah. But that is a personal thing. Like I want to do that because if I get on tour, Mike, maybe this resonates with you a little bit. If you're really prepped for a tour, then you get out there and you can enjoy the tour more because you're not having to second guess, did I do enough before this? Like, am I prepared? And if I do a lot, I can go into the tour like and just have a lot more fun. Yeah, on the road. I find even not even talking tour wise in my life, and it's always been like this since
so I'm 33 now, just about to be 34.
Yeah.
And so I really started when I was 10.
Right.
I find at every point in my life, if I feel like I'm a good drummer, everything else in my life doesn't seem as bad, or
Same.
like it's like I know that I can sit down and I can feel like I'm the greatest drummer, and like I can do all the things that I want to do. And when I can't do that, like like what I'm saying, the greatest drummer. I'm not trying to say, I'm not trying to say like I'm not trying to compare.
I don't know. What are you trying to say, Mike?
I'm trying to say like I'm the greatest drummer that for me, like I'm the greatest of my own. Of all the drummers that live inside me.
You're the best version
You've
of
done
yourself.
as
I'm
much
the
as
best
you can
version
do.
of that.
We talk about this all
Yeah.
the time on the show, actually. This is a
We
pretty
do.
consistent topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. So basically what we say around here is if your house is in order, you go out into the world and you get cut off in traffic and your boss says something mean and your relationship with someone else is falling apart, and it's okay.
Yeah.
But then if your house is in a state of disarray and you leave and something great happens out in the world, it doesn't really help you.
Yeah. Make your bed.
So
Make your bed.
right, make your bed.
I make
Exactly.
hotel room beds. Every single morning I wake up, no matter where in the world I am, no matter where I just slept, the very first thing I do is make the bed, and I have it in my head that I'm gonna be
That's
I'm gonna
funny.
be Travis
Actually,
Barker. If I keep this up,
same.
I'll be Travis Barker in 6 months.
We had
Start
Alex
swinging those ropes.
We had Alex Rudinger on the show recently, and he's the drummer. He was in Good Tiger. I think he's in Whitechapel now.
He's a death metal drummer.
Yeah.
And a rock drummer.
But he
Very,
said the
very
same exact
proficient.
thing for himself. He needs to make the bed in the morning. That's his thing. It's funny that you guys share that. It's makes a lot of sense. Really does.
I always sort of did it, and then I heard this thing from I think it was a commencement speech from an army officer or something like that, and he was like,
he wrote a book.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really read, but I watched a YouTube video.
Yeah.
But yes, yeah. But
That guy.
that's what he says. Yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, it's so true. That guy
Yeah.
led a team of brave people, and this is the thing that he laid out is like, if the first thing you do in a day is make your bed, that's the first step in changing the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's speaking to these, graduates, and he's saying, if you want to go out and change the world, here's what you can do. And when he lays it out, you say, those are so simple.
Yeah.
And when he gets to the end of however many there are, 12 or 14 things, you say to yourself, that's true.
Yeah.
Like it's actually true, but it's going to require me to do those simple things with consistency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so much of that translates into drumming. We talk about this so much. Like,
Yeah.
if you're able to keep your house in order, your life in order, then your practice is going to be in order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you're able to approach playing drums with this sense of joy and gratitude, like, I'm the luckiest guy in the world, I get to play drums for a living. Mike, you're the luckiest guy in the world, you get to play drums for a living. Tim, you're not the luckiest guy in the world. I'm just kidding.
I am the luckiest guy.
Your
I've got
soundproofing is
two
nice, though.
beautiful kids and a sanctuary. I actually get to do what you guys wish you could do on tour whenever I want.
It's true. It's true.
I come down here and I play on this kit, and I can play whatever I want, no pressure.
And we're just alone in a hotel room somewhere.
I think that's the funniest thing Tim's ever said, actually. Because what you just said has multiple explanations.
Yeah.
Like, practicing drums is only one of the things.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's true. We're not going to read into it too much, but this topic does make me think of something. And Mike, talking with you back and forth over the past month or so, one thing that I've really noticed is your professionalism. We talked about how Travis Barker treats people. That's exactly what I got from you. You're playing for Shawn Mendes and all these class acts, and here you are entertaining a podcast with some dude who just reached out on social media.
Of course. I find so often, like, I love to talk drums. I love to talk drums, but I love to, like, I'm at a point now where it's like I love to share my experiences, because coming up, I tried to talk to a lot of drummers that were not nice to me and all this stuff. And I want to do the exact opposite. But furthermore, I want to help like expand the knowledge of our drums, like, you know, or of our instrument. Like we have such a beautiful instrument, and I want people to be playing this instrument.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know,
That's
I think
awesome.
it's really important to like share your, you know,
Yeah.
and try.
I think what you do really well, to Tim's point, is you're professional.
Yeah.
But you are
Not always.
You can tell that you're not looking down your nose at other people.
Yeah.
And you're able to have fun with this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
You're
always
able to just enjoy it.
I think because I do. This is one of the reasons, but I was never able to. I tried so hard to get into school. Like I'm telling you, I wanted to be in school. I wanted to be studying drums and all this stuff, and I kept on getting denied. So like it's like they didn't even want to teach me. It wasn't like I didn't get the gig. Oh, like, you know, I'm just not the right fit. Like they didn't think I was good enough to be taught. So because of that, I never got this piece of paper that said I'm a drummer, and there's never been. So I always think like, this is just going to go away tomorrow. So let's try to make as much of a explosion as we can now.
Yeah. And now those same people who declined your app would be reaching out to you to say, "Hey, can you come teach this class as this accomplished drummer?" It's crazy.
Yeah.
Or can I get tickets?
Or
to
can
see
I
you
get
play?
tickets? Can you comp me some tickets?
The guy who denied me is kind of he's a big Canadian drummer. Yeah, so what we were doing, Shawn's like first stadium, like ticketed Shawn Mendes concert stadium. It's on Netflix. You should check it out. It's actually really good. It's
check it
really
out.
I will.
well
What's it
shot.
called?
It's just like Shawn Mendes live on Netflix.
Okay, sweet. I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's actually like it's shot like crazy. Like they did a really lovely job. But for that show, he had hit me up and been like, "Hey, Mike, you know, we probably don't know each other, but we met at this. I used to play Yamaha drums, and he's a Yamaha guy, and he was like, we met at this Yamaha event and all this stuff." And he's like, "So I know you probably don't remember me, but I'm also from like this school's called Humber and all this stuff." And I was like, "Oh no, I've met you before." And I'm like, "Let me tell you something." I'm like, "I've auditioned for you 3 times in a row." And he's like, "Oh wow, got that one wrong." And I was like, "Man, I've been waiting 10 years to say that." I was like, "That's amazing." And it's like, and no, I can't get you and your daughter into the show. I'm sorry.
All right.
That's so funny.
Hey, Mike, do you have time for a couple inner circle questions?
I got all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
So our
literally
inner
just
circle-
practicing.
Our inner circle is a community kind of underneath the podcast. They've been supporting us, and we don't do ads or anything on the podcast, so we're pretty much fully funded by these people, and they continue the conversation, and so they have a few questions for you.
Yeah.
So I'll throw those out there, if that's cool.
Absolutely.
Cool. So Phil Gallo or Gallo. I'm sorry, Phil. I never actually learned how to pronounce your last name properly. What's an overlooked skill, drumming or non-drumming, that's helped you the most in your career?
An overlooked skill. Wow. That was actually that's a tremendous question.
Phil's coming in
He's on
strong.
it.
Yeah. An overlooked skill. I mean, I would probably say, I don't know how overlooked this is. As soon as we get off this, I'm going to think of the greatest answer. And I'll be like, "Oh, wait, let's get back on." I think people underestimate how much stamina you need to be able to perform every night playing specifically the drums. Yes, every instrument comes with their challenges, and like you could have finger things and all this stuff. But, you know, doing what you do, Matt, and like every night, you need to have your stamina up. And I noticed if I don't sleep well or anything like that, the show can suffer. So, and just having like the physical ability, you know. So I find I go to the gym a lot and I run a lot just so I can do stuff. And then when nobody's in the gym, I like run and I try to do rudiments on the back of the treadmill and all this stuff. So I think like the physical exertion that it takes to be a drummer, a touring drummer, any kind of drummer, really.
This is 100% right. I mean, if you're taking care of yourself in one area of your life, then everything else matters more.
Yeah.
Whereas if like your body, if you're not taking care of your body and you're not getting good sleep, like you said, then everything else might happen, but it suffers a little bit, it crumbles a little bit. And also you don't put as much effort into it because you don't feel good.
Yeah.
You know, you don't feel good. So you really got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Because what you're doing on the kid is affected by a lot that's upstream of playing, which you wouldn't really think about. It's hard to quantify.
Yeah.
But when you sit down to play, you're bringing everything to the table. I mean, you are the one that's hitting the drums. So that's a great answer.
But and also just to like branch off that too, like the potential for like injury and stuff. Like I haven't done anything with Shawn. I haven't played with another musician since last November. That like things have been absolutely shut down in Canada.
Yeah.
So I've just been playing with myself, if you will. But then
There it is.
So I was super bored, and I got offered this like full-time teaching gig with this school here. So I figured, all right, let's do it. Like, I'm not doing anything during the day. I'm just sitting here practicing. I might as well be making money and teaching kids or like adults or whatever.
Right.
And so I just jumped in out of the blue. And I was still practicing in the morning, and like I have a bit of a studio set up, so I have like some clients kind of doing that kind of stuff. So like I went from playing maybe like 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day, like 5 hours on like the high end, to playing like 10 hours a day between teaching and just like constantly sitting on a drum stool. And I developed this crazy sciatica, and to the point where I was like, and this is just recently, like going back a couple months ago, like crazy sciatica. Just moving, like doing anything was just the most painful thing ever. So I went to this chiropractor, and I don't like it just as a last ditch effort. I'm like, I need somebody to do something, move something, do whatever.
Yeah.
And he showed me all these like stretches and all that stuff for specifically like my movements. And whenever I feel this thing like come on, I do some of these stretches, and it like disappears.
Wow.
Huh.
So stretches.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
That's a great answer.
It's
Yeah.
a long answer. That was a long-winded
good
answer.
question and good answer. So who was the guy that asked that question, Tim?
That was Phil.
Phil. Okay.
Thank you, Phil.
Good job, Phil. That was a great question.
Well done, Phil.
I have one more from Greg LaFranchi, and he has another good question, actually. He asks, how do you adapt what is programmed on a record to how you play it, or how you plan on playing it live?
It's very case by case. That's like that. This is the number one thing that I have to deal with in my current like situation. Like, so like with a lot of pop music, it's like, or like specifically, let's just talk specifically about Shawn, because it can change with anybody. There's some songs where it's obvious what the drum pattern is, like you know, and I'm the live drummer. Like I didn't play any of this stuff in the studio or anything like that. None of the things that I've played on have made it onto the actual album, other than the deluxe one. I'm on
Which
a
is
lot
cool.
of that is it's so cool. It's
That's
so cool. I don't
really
mean
cool.
to yeah. But like
really
I'm not on any of the actual original songs.
Mike, don't put yourself down. It offends me.
But like, so some of the things are really obvious. You know, it's like oh, there's the groove. But then there's a lot of things where it'll be like I'm currently as soon as we get off, I have to learn a new song, and this is the exact challenge because the whole like. So for like some of his other material, it'll be like a clap. So the clap is like going
Right.
and then there's just
Right.
like some sort of really like bass drum thing that's like boom, ta-boom, boom, ta-boom, or something like that. And then there's like stick clicks. There's like a
Yeah.
you know, like
Right.
something like that. So it's like, and that's the whole drum part. What do you do?
Yeah.
So like, I can't go on stage just doing that. So, you know, I can't just be like,
You could.
yeah, I mean, so you can tease that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
like my whole challenge is what I try to do, and I think what I've kind of like come up with a pretty good method of doing this is I always try to really keep the integrity of the recording, but give it this live feel. And a lot of it is like trial and error, like you know. Like
What role does the music director have in this? Like when you get
Yeah,
together, is he saying like, don't do this, do that.
Yeah, there's a lot
Okay.
of that. Like so I was on the phone with him. Like we're I don't know. I can't talk about any of this stuff. we're starting to slowly do some stuff.
Yep.
But,
I gotcha. We're having the same conversations right now. So
So so I was on the phone last night till super late, just sort of figuring out all these options. And essentially, what I'm going to do today is like I'm just going to come up with a bunch of different ways to do it. You know, a bunch of different ways that we could approach it, different fills, different stuff like that. Just because I want to be prepared for when we get in the room. If somebody's like, "Oh, like we talk a lot. Like I don't know if you guys do this, but we do a lot of like, "Oh, do something that Dave Grohl would do there," or like, "Oh, do a Ringo thing there or something." You know,
All the
like
time,
there's a lot of that kind of thing, and it's like, okay, so like he probably means, dum, 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 you know, like that kind of thing.
Dave Grohl means flams automatically.
Yeah, flams. Maybe you're doing something between your bass drum and your toms, or
lots
like
of cymbals.
lots of cymbals. But like while doing that, I always try to make it my own, and then I'll do something really Dave Grohl, and then start to pull it back and do more something that I would really do.
Yeah.
And then no one's the wiser.
Yeah.
So that's another long answer to a short question. But
This has been a blast, man. I really appreciate you getting on here and talking to us and talking to our listeners and to the Inner Circle. That was also a great question. So thank you to the Inner Circle for chiming in here.
Yes.
I always try to ask, how can we support you during this time and leading into you getting back to work?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always doing lessons. You know, like I love to just do. I love to just do anything. You know, like I love to record and all this stuff. So like, I guess if you want to know more about me or know how to. Just know more about me. My website is mikesleathdrums.com. And then
Okay, sweet.
And then if you want to just directly hit me up, I always respond to everybody. You just email hello@mikesleathdrums.com. Hello.
Okay.
Easy enough.
Hello @mikesleathdrums.com.
And I want to slip in one more question if it's not too much to ask, because I'm just really curious. So I have an inkling of your answer on this, but Mike, if you could pick one style of music to play, just one. Doesn't have to be with an artist specifically, but
Just
if it was
one
your own
style
band,
of
what
music.
what style would be your preference?
It would be some weird mix of like pop punk, but with like pop punk, but probably a little more groovy, slower pop punk. Because I'm 33, I'm getting up there. So it would probably be some slow, groovy pop punk kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We have a TV show out here called TVO, and so I'm going on there, and they asked if I had a song to like write. So I've just spent all week doing this exact thing where it's like, okay, so I want it to be pop punk, but children's pop punk. So it's like, so I tried to make a pop punk nursery rhyme because it's the age demographic is like 7 to 10. So I spent all week making this like pop punk song with this like bung 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 like nursery rhyme kind of thing. So that's probably the music I would go for.
Yeah, there you go.
Nursery rhyme pop punk.
There's a big market for that. I was just on vacation at the beach, and I have a bunch of nieces and nephews.
Yeah.
They wanted to watch TV. I left the room and came back. They're watching YouTube, and there's this guy who I think he just makes it up as he goes.
It was
man.
Blippy,
But
wasn't it?
Blippy. It was Blippy.
Oh yeah.
Tim knew. I didn't even have to say
I have
it.
a 4-year-old.
I mean, 100 million views on a video of him sitting on a beach, putting sand in a $30 toy that he bought and explaining what's happening.
Are you
and then
serious?
just kind of winging it.
Wow.
So I think there's a market. man.
I say it all the time. I have a friend who's a 3D animator, and I have another friend who I've been working on music with for like 10 years, and we all have like pro grade studios and all of the top of the line equipment, and it's like, guys, we just have to get together and write some children's songs. You animate it, get it up on YouTube. Millions of dollars later, we'll we'll retire.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I sent
that's
the
true.
song to my niece and nephew, and I was like, "What should this song be called?" And so we named it "Running on the Moon," which I thought was
Very
pretty
cool.
progressive.
I like that name. That's
Running on the
actually
Moon.
very cool.
Yeah,
That's very cool, actually.
Yeah.
you can use it if you want, man.
Yeah, maybe we'll showcase it on the podcast episode.
Yeah.
That's the name. That's the name of this episode.
Yeah.
That
Premiering.
or what was the thing that Mike said earlier? Oh, I know. One kick.
One
Ah,
kick.
yes. Yeah.
Yeah, a one kick pony.
One
That
kick
I'm
was
gonna
good.
pony.
use
I've
that
never
one.
heard that.
I'll be using that one again.
Same. Well, no, I won't. I play double bass, but maybe.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you all for listening. Thanks again, Mike, for being on the show. This was so much fun.
Thank you so much, man. It was a real pleasure.
It really
getting to-
was.
getting to chat with you guys. It was so much fun.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you again, Mike, for coming on the show. That was so much fun. And I just want to say that I really appreciate that you are a pop punk fan.
Yeah.
I just put together a playlist actually of just pop
I
punk
saw
music
that.
for its 28 and a half hours of pop punk.
Oh my gosh. You should send that to him.
And I will listen to all of it.
Hopefully your wife likes that kind of music as well.
Sometimes it depends on the day. But yeah, and thank you all for listening. We, as always, we're honored and privileged to be able to do this, to talk to cool guests and to have conversations consistently, and for the ability to have you all join in on it with us. Speaking of joining in on the conversation, I just want to give a quick shout out to our inner circle. They are a group of the best people in the world, and they are the sole reason that we're still doing this thing. So if you guys are interested in being a part of our inner circle and supporting the podcast, check it out, Patreon, podcast.com, patreon.com/holyghostnotes. If you want to support, get involved, what have you, there's a number of different tiers with different levels of involvement and incentives. So check it out if you're interested. And of course, as always, if you guys have any questions or thoughts, feel free to reach out on the socials or Matt and Tim at theholyghostnotes.com. And make sure you're using that hashtag #HolyGhostNotes on your drum videos for a chance to get featured.
So good. Thanks so much for
Yeah.
listening, everyone. Tim, thank you so much for setting this up. And thank you, Mike.
course.
This has been a blast.
My pleasure. Yeah. Thanks again. If you guys are interested in working with Mike, he does virtual lessons. Mike Sleath Drums, SESLEATH. I'm dropping the ball here. MikeSleathDrums.com or email him at hello@MikeSleathDrums.com. Definitely take him up on it. He's a chill dude, and you'll learn a lot from him. So, yeah.
Good stuff. You know what time it is.
Oh, of course.
Peace.
Keep hitting this mic stand.